When you absolutely, positively have to clutch it out. The SCAR-L, it can get the job done. Gonna get that big boy up now. Yuxie. Uppercut, uppercut, sonic boom. This is a SCAR-L. Is it good? Which is better, the SCAR-L or the M416? And how much damage does it do? What's the recoil like? What should I use it for and what should I use on it? Well, you've come to the right place because I can answer all those questions and so very many more. Like, I don't know, what time is it in LA? How do you knit things out of twine? I don't ask me what on sport. Anyway, let's talk about the SCAR-L. This is going to be a look down both what it's good for, which is more important, and what it's not good for. Now, like a lot of the 5.56 ARs, it shares common traits. The SCAR-L has the same base damage as all the other 5.56 ARs, excluding the FAMAS, the new FAMAS, which is a very different animal. And if you haven't watched that video, there'll be a link later on, or actually I'll put a link in the comments you can go and click on, and that'll tell you all you need to know about the FAMAS. The SCAR-L has a base damage into the chest of 40.9. Same as the 416, same as the QBZ95, same as the M16, same as the AUG, same as the G36C. They all do exactly the same damage. Where the SCAR-L differs is that it actually has a slightly slower rate of fire at 90 frames per second. And that's been something that's really only come to the fore recently since they enabled 90 frames per second in the global client. And that's because now certain other 5.56 ARs, well, let's name them flat out because there's not that many of them. There's the M416, it has a faster rate of fire at 90 frames per second. So does the AUG. So does the G36C. That's it. Voila. And they go from having a round fired every 0.096 seconds to a round fired every 0.085 seconds. Now, there is a little bit of a trade-off for that, and I'll show you in just a second. I'm going to show you the recoil patterns between the M416 and the SCAR-L. But suffice it to say that more damage is always more important. As long as you can control the vertical recoil, the horizontal recoil, the damage part is the most important. And to be honest, the M416 just does too much damage compared to the SCAR-L to be ignored. Like, I don't know what this guy does not break the res. He's like, I'm going to res them I don't care. I'm resing everybody. You can shoot me as much as you want. Anyway, back to it. So 5.56 ARs are renowned for two things. Their shell velocity and their recoil. And that allows them to spray at longer ranges than most other weapons in the game, which is important. And the SCAR-L can still do that. Don't get me wrong. What the SCAR doesn't have is quite the rate of fire. And that's disappointing because the 5.56 ARs are not renowned for damage. So having even worse damage, say, than an M416 is a big deal. Now let's talk about the spray patterns, and this is the recoil of the gun, both horizontally and vertically, excuse me. I did 10 sprays, 300 rounds apiece, and I dropped the best and the worst from each, and you can see that the SCAR-L 1 has less horizontal recoil, and 2 has much wider vertical recoil. The M416's vertical recoil is not even a problem. Neither is the SCAR's, to be honest. But this area here is really important. That's where the M4 is so tight all the way through to the mid-clip, mid-magazine, and that's where the SCAR is just getting really wayward. Doesn't mean you can't spray with the SCAR-L. Obviously, you've seen me spraying it a couple of 100 meters in this video already. The SCAR-L can do it. Does it do it as well as the M4? Well, that's one of the questions that most people have about this weapon, and the answer is no. What it does do better is actually have less vertical recoil, so it is a better tap-fire DMR than the M4. But that's not really in a lot of people's wheelhouse. Like, if they're running a SCAR-L or an M4, they want to be spraying with this weapon. They can always just grab an M16A4 if they want to use a 5.56 AR as a long-range pseudo DMR. What does it need to be successful? Well, it's pretty obvious. The SCAR-L has two attachment slots. One is for a muzzle attachment, one is for a lower rail attachment. The muzzle attachment, compensator. Compensator, compensator, compensator. Anything that helps with recoil is still a good thing. For the lower rail attachment, the angle grip is a beautiful setup for the SCAR-L. The comparison of the M416 to the SCAR-L is a little bit misleading because the M416 has very, very little horizontal recoil. I mean, very, very minimal horizontal recoil. Whereas if you're comparing it, say, to an AKM, the SCAR-L would look a whole lot better. So if you put a horizontal, like an angle grip on this gun with a compensator, you can spray very, very well. The big difference, obviously, is just the damage. What does that damage really mean? Let's break the numbers down on that damage now, because they are very, very important. Now let's first of all start with the base time to kill a level 2 vest, which is what everyone uses as an arbitrary number for damage, because it's something that's in-game, like a level 2 vest, and it's something that you have to churn through every time you play. The time to kill a level 2 vest for a M416 and a SCAR-L at 60 frames per second is exactly the same, 0.384 seconds. The time to kill a level 2 vest at 90 frames per second for the M416 and the SCAR-L is different. The M416 is 0.34, the SCAR-L is 0.384. Now, for those of you paying attention, that's a difference of 0.44, which is, what, 12-13% difference? And that's a big deal. Like 12 or 13% difference in a time to kill in a game where life and death can literally be 0.001 of a second is massive. Absolutely massive. And considering that it also has worse horizontal recoil, I think we can genuinely say that the SCAR-L is not as good as the M416, which is one of the questions that, you know, you go and pump that thing in the Google search engine, and the first few questions up is the SCAR-L good? And which is better, M416 or SCAR-L? And then, of course, how do you get a SCAR-L skin? Which is not something we're going to be answering in this video. So, you want to get a compensator, you want to get a angle grip, and you want to use... I like to use a 3X, you might want to use a 4X, and you might want to use a 6X. That's all up to you. What does it do well and what does it do badly? Well, it's very, very good in the mid-range. And that's really where the 5.56 ARs excel. One of the reasons for that is... Oh, did you like this little bait, by the way? Did you like the little tap, tap, tap? Look, it's a bot, it's a bot. You got a whole car to pull up. One of the reasons that the 5.56 ARs excel at this mid-range is because they have very, very fast shell velocity. 909 meters a second on a SCAR-L means that you've got a shell velocity that will genuinely mean you don't have to lead the target by a lot. So as long as you can see the gun somewhere around the front of the target, as it's running along, you're going to land some shells. And that's the spray and pray methodology, and it works really well. What else is it really good at? Well, because of that versatility, it allows you to run a pretty wide variety of loadouts. Like if you're on Miramar, you can run a SCAR-L. If you're on Erangel, you can run a SCAR-L. If you're on Sanok, you can run a SCAR-L, and you can spray in all those situations. And even if you're on Miramar and you don't have a sniper rifle, you can use the 5.56 ARs like this at range to really put people into a hurtful position. That's 75 meters, quick spray with a 3X, and the target's cleared very, very quickly. Why would you use it over an M4? Well, if you're like me, you're a pedantic bastard and you just get sick of everyone running the M4. And I like the way the SCAR-L looks. I genuinely like the way it looks. But I can't come up with a solid reason. Look, the DMR thing is real. It has less vertical recoil, but neither the M416 or the SCAR-L has enough vertical recoil to make it a problem. Like, there is no worries if you set your sensitivity up correctly that the SCAR-L won't be able to handle the job with vertical recoil. That is never going to be the issue. What the SCAR-L can bring to the table is a very easy to find AR that can give you 9/10 of what the M416 gives you straight away. I mean, this is really the thing that people miss out on, is if you just want to run this weapon, you can run it all the way through to the end game and it'll give you most of what the M416 will give you. And if you're at 60 frames per second, it'll pretty much give you everything that the M416 gives you. I would love it if there was more differentiation between the weapons, where it was a pro and con thing. And we might get that. At the moment, it seems like it could be just in the too hard basket. But the SCAR-L works. It works really, really well. It does have a lovely kind of feel to it. The sound is good. The graphics are good. It's got some lovely skins if you like playing FPP. And it does enough damage for it to really, really work. You want to run a red dot on this thing. Red dots are very, very good if you like ADSing in CQC. And I've seen a lot of people just don't care whether they run a red or a holo. I don't know if everyone realizes that you get 20% ADS bonus on a red dot. I mean, it means that you CQC ADS faster, and anything that's faster is better because it means you're aiming quicker, which is good. That's the SCAR-L, boys and girls. I think I've answered all the questions. Do you have any other questions? I don't know. Do you have any other questions, humans? If so, leave them below in the comments. And we're going to be doing a lot more. We've got UMP videos coming up, Tommy gun videos coming up, all kinds of things. And if you have questions, I make videos on them. That's how the content wheel works, boys and girls. The content wheel works because you turn the wheel. Look at this guy. He's right next to me. Hello. He's been there the whole time. He could have come out and had a crack. He might have been AFK. Who knows? Making a video called Top 10 Positions to Prone, and it's going to be absolute piss take. And I hope you enjoy it. Fresh level 3 helmet there, Bushka. Why don't you just go out and grab it and lose the game? Oh yeah, that'd be good. People also just seem to think that because it's blue, you can't shoot around the corner. Yeah, we got a nice little tap in on him, didn't you? Nice little tap in. Then he goes up and down and round and jumps and tries to be tricky. And thanks very much for coming. Remember to like and subscribe.